What's up? So this video is going to be a little bit shorter than my other ones. I really just wanted to make an amendment to something that I said in my trying not to listen to myself video. So in that video, I said this, but if I want to learn to effectively work my way out of these tunnels, I'll need to move past those reactions into a more level-headed response. And that response will be different for different people. But for me, I already identified how I would personally like to respond to these situations. And that's with comedy. But what does it actually mean to respond with comedy? As usual, it's been a pretty frustrating past couple of days/weeks, and I've been trying to do what I told myself to do in that video in order to cope. The problem is, I'm not that funny. I don't actually have the ability to find the humor in any given scenario and articulate it in a comedic way to make myself laugh. And trying to force myself to find the humor in a frustrating situation and not being able to do it only ends up frustrating me more. And then I just end up hitting a boiling point and throwing a temper tantrum. So I had to think to myself, okay, so what do I do about this? I still think it's important for me to try to find the humor in these situations. For whatever reason, it's a trait that I admire in the people and public figures that I look up to. And so it's a skill/perspective/trait that I want to develop within myself. So even though this is a skill/perspective/trait that I'm not good enough to use to help myself out of these situations just yet, I still don't want to give up on the pursuit of this skill/perspective/trait entirely. So what do I do in the here and now to actually help me get through these frustrating experiences? And once I thought about it a little bit, the answer became pretty obvious. So just because I can't generate the comedy myself doesn't mean that I can't still turn to it. I mean, I have the entire internet at my disposal, and it is filled with videos, GIFs, and memes that were made with the express purpose of making people laugh. So whenever I'm going through a frustrating experience, or a tunnel as I like to call them, I'm trying to teach myself to always seek out the things that will make me laugh and smile in order to more effectively get through them. And so for me, that's what it means to respond with comedy. At least for now, until I can hopefully learn to generate the comedy myself. And doing this will hopefully help me avoid resorting to my more harmful coping mechanisms, like I've talked about ad nauseum in my other videos. And the cool thing about this, at least for me, is that this whole approach harkens back to something that I talked about 22 videos ago when I first started posting. So I had that option of listening to music that lets me vent my frustration, which again, I think is very healthy for most people, but for me is a slippery slope. Or I had option number 2. And this option was to basically bypass that venting process by avoiding music that actively justifies my frustration, and instead listen to music that takes me directly out of that mind state and focuses my attention towards all the aspects of my life that are going well and that I should be thankful for. So a little background on this video. Basically, at the time, I was dealing with, you guessed it, another frustrating situation. And in this video, I was identifying music as a tool that I could use to help me deal with the frustration. Basically, I was saying that I had 2 options when deciding what type of music to listen to. I could either A, listen to music that matches my mood and allows me to wallow in the negative emotions that I'm feeling at the time, or B, listen to music that lifts me out of that mind state and forces me to focus on the other potentially positive aspects of my life. And so what's cool about this is that this was the original version of what I am now trying to teach myself, to seek out the things that will make me laugh and smile to more effectively get through these tunnels. It's just that in this case, I was using music as the tool, whereas now I'm using comedy. I mean, the options are exactly the same. I can either A, engage with media that matches my mood and allows me to wallow in the negative emotions that I'm currently feeling. So for example, I could watch videos of people I don't like doing things that I disagree with and direct all this negative energy I have towards them. Or I can B, engage with media that lifts me out of that mind state and forces me to focus on the other potentially positive aspects of my life. And at the moment, the most readily identifiable media that achieves this for me is comedy. But now that I think about it, there are tons of different types of media that can do this for me. And I guess part of the journey now is to find what those things are so that I can add it to this toolbox of healthy coping mechanisms that I'm trying to build. But I guess in the end, it's not really about comedy or music, but more about the process of trying to teach myself to always seek out the funny, uplifting, wholesome things, whatever they may be, that will prevent me from wallowing in the frustration so that I can keep moving forward. I think that's ultimately the lesson that I'm trying to teach myself with all this. But don't get it twisted. I still listen to melancholic music when I'm sad and loud, aggressive music when I'm angry. I still watch things that fuel my frustration when I get upset. And so at times, I still allow myself inadvertently and intentionally to wallow in these feelings. And I talked about this in that video because I think there's a healthy way of doing this. And this was a difficult spot for me because I genuinely believe that it is a natural and in many cases even healthy reaction to listen to music that helps you vent whatever you're feeling at that time. And we all do this, you know, like listening to a sad song after a breakup or an angry song after a fight. I think it's completely normal to listen to music that allows you to be in that mind state and justifies your being there. It can help you feel almost understood, especially when you can't find that elsewhere. And so I just want to be clear that I'm not trying to say that the venting process is inherently harmful and that I should completely bypass it all the time. I'm just trying to say that eventually I have to stop venting and wallowing in these feelings and keep moving forward. And this is something that I've consistently failed to do. And so in order to more quickly and more effectively help me move past this wallowing/venting phase, I'm going to try to teach myself to turn to funny, happy, uplifting music and media to get me moving again, aka to respond with comedy or uplifting music or whatever positive media I can engage with at the time, I guess is more accurate to say now. But again, it is not to say that listening to sad music after a breakup or angry music after a fight is inherently unhealthy and unhelpful. That is definitely not my point. But anyway, I think I'm starting to over-explain and convolute my own point, so I'm just gonna end this one here. I hope in the end it made sense what I was trying to say. Basically, comedy and music are some of the tools that I'm gonna try to use to cope with frustrating situations. That's really it. So yeah, if you made it this far, thank you for hearing me out. I sincerely hope that you have some uplifting content in your toolbox for times when you need to get out of a negative headspace. It can be pretty uncomfortable because it forces you out of a mind state that you may justifiably be in. But if you can get past that, I think more often than not, you'll be in a better mental and physical state altogether. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, with that said, I wish you all the very best going forward. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Peace and be easy.